Should be able to unmute. Muted. Tunde, you're still muted. Tasha, can you hear us? Can everybody hear? You good? Jay, you're good? Tunde, you good? Tasha, you can't hear? Tasha, you having problems with your audio? Make sure your Bluetooth isn't going over your phone. It's going to echo.
All right, folks, welcome again. Let's get this music down and popping. Whew, it's a hot one today. This is all no fun and games today. This is a pretty serious topic, and I'm glad Jules, my amazing co-host, brought it to our attention to speak about it. Especially with us dealing with the whole COVID issues, with the whole restrictions here and there, not being able to see family, and your mindset is just all out of whack. This is a great topic to kind of bring awareness to. So again, my name is Tunde, right? They call me the Beast. Jules, he is also there in sunny Florida.
Yes,
He has graced us and blessed us with three amazing people that are going to have the courage to talk about the topic that we have going on today, and that's the understanding, the awareness, and the education of domestic abuse and domestic violence in a relationship, be it your own, be it parents, friends, whatever. I mean, all situations and stories are very welcome here, because we want to put it out there to educate not only the people that are in this podcast, as well as people who are watching live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on Twitch. So again, Jules, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm awesome. First off, we want to express our thanks for everyone that can come and check us out and speak on awareness, maybe your past, maybe something that you're going through now. I think it's important that we are able to speak about certain issues. And the great part is, so as of right now, we have 4 African American men speaking on it, because we're either going to be the ones that are blamed for it, or we're the ones that are supposed to be so strong that we can't talk about it. I think we should be able to talk about anything as men. So Vince, I know Vince through actual workout group. He's there in North Carolina. I haven't met Jay yet, but Jay is here in Florida. Jay was actually brought to my attention because he's a poet, and he had a poet night the other night. And one of my friends, when we were talking about the whole topic, said that Jay had an amazing, he actually had an amazing reading that touched her. So she was like, all right, you know what? He's the guy you need to talk to. So that's why I reached out to Jay. Jay's here in Florida as well. Jay, I think you might need to unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, good.
But you guys are more than welcome to speak on yourself. To introduce yourself.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the echo? Okay, cool. I'm Vincent. I live in North Carolina now, but I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm stayed by the lake. And so Uncle Sam brought me down here in the military back in '95, and I just stayed because of the weather, and yeah, I no more snow. But this topic it hits me hard because I just lost my mom in 2019, and just all through life it was that specter of what we saw, what we've been through, and everything like that. And like I was telling my wife just a minute ago, actually, that when my mom passed on, I felt good because she was out of pain, and I did the things I was supposed to do as a son, and I took care of her and things like that, made her proud. But that's one of the things I regret, if you call it regret, is not talking to her about the things that we went through when we were little, right? And those things manifested as we became adults. Now, I can speak on me, how it manifested in me, but I'm sure it did the same thing with my brother and my sister. So that's kind of my backstory. I don't want to take up too much time for everybody to introduce themselves.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for that, Vince. James, welcome to the show. Give us a little bit of a rundown about yourself, and don't mind me if I snap in the corner, because you be a poet. I'll be snapping. Give you that love. Give you that love. I gotta give you that love. When poets come on, you gotta give them that soul love. Yeah.
Yes. My name is Jamel. I'm from Chicago, and I moved down to Tampa for college in 2010, and I've just been all over the U.S. for my career, which is education. Currently, I am just starting my own business in education, and I'm a poet. So that's what I do now. But back in my early 20s is when I personally experienced domestic violence. I identify as gay, and I was with somebody for 6, almost 7 years, with 4 of those years being domestic violence. About 2 of those years, I was in and out of the hospital, and I stayed. So this topic is very, 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 very touching for me, but it's one that I love to have. I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed. I am willing to have that uncomfortable conversation, being a Black male. And so I look forward to where this conversation is going to lead to. But I also just look forward to shedding some light to some people that domestic violence is real, and that verbal abuse is just as worse as physical abuse. It's all in there, and it's all under that domestic violence window. So I just look forward to this conversation. I think y'all dope. I don't want to take no more time up. So I'll pass it to the next person.
Tasha, can you hear us yet?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Fresh off the airport.
Look at her.
Look at her. Just look at that hat. Just styling and profiling.
I'm in the car now. Well, my name is Tasha. I'm also from Chicago, and I've been in Florida for the last 2 years. I'm a chef. I have my own catering business. I also do exotic picnics in the park and a few other things. I'm gonna say I experienced domestic violence back in, let's say, 2008, 2009. I am a survivor from it because um, basically I almost lost my life. So yeah, this topic, as Jay was saying, I'm not afraid to tell. I tell anybody that's gonna listen because people don't understand the real concept of that and the mental that you go through after the fact of surviving it. You know, you become the abuser and not even realizing you have become the abuser. So yes, hopefully my phone don't die and I get to chime in on y'all and ask the questions and stuff like that.
Sure, for sure. It's amazing
Yeah,
that you're all with us.
so one of the reasons why I think it's important because it's absolutely not something that's spoke of like freely. So that's why I think it's more important to be able to get other individuals in that are able to share their story. When I originally posted on my Facebook page, do I know anyone that's survived domestic abuse? And the reason why I had to make sure that I use the right verbiage because just same thing as Jay said, physically, mentally, that's all under the same umbrella. You know, you can mentally fuck somebody up just as bad as you can physically. And I think it's probably easier to get over physical than it is mental. Like I have friends that are still terrorized by their uh, husbands, wives, years later, like still sending crazy messages. And for some reason, when I was speaking on it with some of my friends on Facebook, like none of them wanted to talk about it. And I'm not sure whether it just brings up other emotions or they just feel that it's hard to talk about. The one of the reasons, I almost begged Vince to come on because he's very similar to me. I'm 6 foot 280. Vince, I'm not sure what his size is, but he's a massively strong African American man, and everyone thinks that just because you're big in size or big in stature that you can't be broken down mentally by a female or by another male. It goes both ways. It definitely goes both ways. So that's why I thought it was so important to be able to speak to people about it.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is whenever I have this conversation, this is like the first thing that I like to talk, the first thing that I like to say. The person who did the abuse to me, I was bigger than. I was bigger than him. I just came from a mindset that if I love you, my hand should never be on you. So that was my mindset that I was stuck in. And I got stuck in the mindset of I love you. And if I love you, I'm going to forgive you because I see the best in you. I think a lot of the times we fall in love with people's potential. And when we fall in love with people's potential, we see the best in them, but not realizing where they're at now. So for me personally, I was not meeting that person where they were at. I was meeting that person where I know they could have been, but they hadn't done the work. So I didn't want to put my hands on them because it would have further set them back. And so that's why I allow certain things to happen in my space. It wasn't because I wasn't strong enough. And that's the misconception that I'm so happy you said, because I definitely wanted to address that. It wasn't that I wasn't strong enough. It was that, honestly, I was mentally weak. I was mentally weak and I allowed somebody to manipulate me. So that's
and see, the thing is that people, you know, I did one event where we spoke up at, and you know, the girl was like, "Don't get up there and talk, get up there and talk," and I finally got there and talk. And the thing about me is that I don't sugarcoat nothing. I might say some things, you know what I'm saying, because I try to be real at all times. So my mouth could be a little bit, you know. So when I got up there and I, you know, get to talking to people, I let people know that a lot of people don't say nothing. They're so scared you're gonna be judged. I lost a lot of friends. Friends didn't want to come around me no more and stuff like that. You know, so you don't tell people what's really going on with you at the time, but they see it. They see it before you even realize, like, you letting somebody verbally abuse you, letting somebody mentally abuse you. You know, all those plays, and we stay in those relationships for different reasons. different reasons. You know what I'm saying? And Jay said why he stayed in his, and some people stay in a relationship for money. Some people just to be alone. I'm on my thing. I stayed because of sex. I stayed in my relationship for sex. The sex is just you, as they say, you get whipped by somebody. I got whipped by.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
So
Okay.
and it went from the verbal first. Oh, you bitch, you better not get.
Uh-oh.
You're going through one of those dead zones.
Yeah.
They're all over Florida.
It never bothered me. Like you could call me every name in the book, and I'ma still look in the mirror and go, "You one fine motherfucker." But when he knew he couldn't break me down,
Some good stuff right here. She's muted right now. Give us a second. Let's get her back. I want her to finish this.
Yeah, Tasha, you muted yourself.
Oh, she's got some connection issues, I think.
So I think the thing is people always ask, why do you stay? And I assume that is for different reasons for different people. So why do people stay? So for me from the outside, I have no idea. And I just want to learn. I have a lot of nieces. I have a lot of nephews also. And I think it's important that if there's a sign, so does it always start verbally?
Well, there's always a sign, but there's signs everywhere, right? It's like a stop sign at a four-way stop, right? The sign's there, but it's how you respond to it, right? You see that sign, it's just how you respond to it, right? And so, from my point of view, I seen the signs, just didn't respond to them the correct way. I didn't address them. I just drove by them. You know what I'm saying? Say, hey, this ain't nothing. This is that ain't that bad. Just drove by it. And the reason I stayed as long as I did is because I felt sorry for her, and I get in that kind of why. B, it was a messed up financial time in my life, right? And then C, near the end, she said that she was pregnant. So with those three factors, I stuck around longer than I should have. Oh, there you go, Tasha.
Okay. I have someone else that's coming in. Miss Marcita's going to be coming in shortly to chime in as well. So we'll welcome her when she gets here.
Can I jump on that?
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Because I felt like you posed a very simple question to something that is beyond complex. And so what I think I would like to reword the question, and I would like to say, what is it that somebody did not get or receive that they feel like that they are? Why don't we love ourselves enough? I think that's the question. Like what is missing? Because obviously, if you are staying in something like that, you have to look at your self-worth. This is me talking. This is me going through therapy. This is all of this. You have to look at your self-worth. What did you not get that you felt like this is what you're worth? Like that's something that's stemming from your childhood, or maybe something that's stemming from maybe your teenage or like early 20s or something, but there was something that was missing that you did not receive that you feel like this is what you're worth. That's one of the things. I know that we talk about like financial. I know we talk about like there's so many other factors, but there's also ways to get out of that. You know what I'm saying?
To a lot of people, financial is worth. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're built on a society where financial is worth. So, I mean, if you don't know how to split that into myself and financials, it can happen. You know, to me, I didn't grow up with a father, my own father, right? So when the pregnancy jumped up, I was like, man, I can't do like my dad did. You know what I'm saying? I got to stick around.
Right.
You know, no matter what.
Let me throw that one.
I got to stick around. So
I hear this. Now, just a big uh, uh, heads up for a lot of people who are watching or who will see or listen to this or watch this later. We are all here, strong African American people, uh, and it's not just an African American situation. All right, this is worldwide. This is global, right? Asian, European, Australian,
Classes.
you name it. It's worldwide. So just because you see the folks here telling their stories, they're not the only ones. So again, I'm just pointing that out because again, these folks are right now the bravest of the bunch right now for me to kind of come out here and state what they've done or how they dealt with it or why they even dealt with it. So again, courage to all of you. But my question, if I can just throw it out there, do you think the behavior is learned from previous situations, probably family life or from work life or whatever? I'll throw that out to Vince first.
Yeah, let me chime in on that. All right.
Yeah.
So just in a nutshell, right? So my experience with being abused, she came from a abuser. I mean, the stuff she told me the first couple of weeks we're together, and remember I said I felt sorry for her. It was horrible.
Right.
No one should have to go through that, right? And then on my side, I came from a horrible situation growing up. So I put those two together and said, man, this is, I can't, when I left that house, going to the military, I said, my household will never be like that, ever. It would never be that. If I got to go overboard, my household will never be tension and tense and the threat of violence like that. So in my mind, I had a mindset against it, right? She
Right.
had a mindset that that's what was expected, right? And she told me, if you don't hit me, you don't love me, right? That was her manipulating me, right? And I was like, that's, that ain't me. I explained that to her. That's not me. That's not me. So, in my mind, I was felt like she was egging me on, right? I mean, she would throw stuff and irons and, ambush me, but it was like, yo, I'm not gonna put my hands on you. I just told you that's what I came from. You should not want this because you came from this situation. So you shouldn't want this either.
But now she's also confused though, because the fact that you're telling me that she thinks that because you're not, you don't look, and that's just a total mind fuck. You think you were in love, so you expect that person that you've seen, for a long time to love you and show the love that you thought was the way to show you. And really and truly, it's the reverse. And because they haven't comprehend that, they think it's the reverse with you. They're now thinking that you love them enough. So they start pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing some more. And it's just a volcano.
It was always that specter, like, you don't love me. And then it got to.
Yeah, for sure, Tasha. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm almost at my mama house, y'all. So okay. But no, like you said, when people are used to behavior, sometimes that follows them. In his case, when his mother found out, it was like, oh, maybe he did that because he watched me get beat for 10 years. And I felt like that wasn't not an excuse, because I know some men that watched their mother or their father got abused and they wouldn't do it, just like you wouldn't touch. You wouldn't put your hands on a woman.
Right.
I'm like, so it's different. It was with him, it was there more of a controlled structure thing. Even when I left, I was scared. I got death threats. I got all that for a couple of years. And he just, I kind of like just faded away. But mentally, it messed me up. But I didn't really know how mentally messed up I was until I found myself. I moved and then find myself dating guys and treating guys like they wasn't shit. Like I would mess around with him and be like, "You gotta go. You can't stay here, home. You gotta roll." Like I didn't realize how much of an abuser I was. I just wasn't a hands-on. I was, I'm not saying I wasn't even a narcissist or nothing like that. It's like when I got into a relationship with my daughter's father, he was already damaged. And I couldn't admit to myself how damaged I was until after we broke up. then I realized all the factors of like, damn, was I really like this in our relationship? You know, did I really say, didn't give a care what you said? Because sometimes he would talk to me and he would like, do you even care what come out your mouth? And I'd be like, no. Didn't realize that was a part of all of what I have been through with this person. And you try to let go, but it took a while that I had to learn, as Jay said, to sit back, be by myself. Right now, I've been by myself going on 5 years. And it took all that time for me to love who Tasha was again, know the value of what Tasha has to offer somebody and what I will not accept from anybody else. I look for a whole whatever when I'm dating somebody. Until then, if I don't get that, I won't. It's no point of us even pursuing like we going somewhere. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get off the line, and I thank y'all.
Hey,
I just made it to my mom's house. My phone was about to die, but just to put a word out there, it is not your fault. Like I said, I had somebody put a whole pillow over my face, told me I was gonna die. Like that mess. I got a permanent knee that's damaged to this day because of him. Everything, I'm claustrophobic because of him. I hate being in tight spots. All that beat me like he was fighting a guy. I mean, beat me real bad. So to say it is not your fault, and if somebody's going through it, talk to somebody. Do not be scared. Everybody in the world is not judgmental. There are people out there that will really help you. That really help you and listen and give you the advice that you need. Some people just scared to move on. Some people just scared to be by themselves. So if you know somebody that's going through, to reach out, and whoever's this podcast, hey, I'm Tasha Chef Smith on Facebook, and I will help you. I will help you. It does
thank you,
not
Jen.
matter.
Thank you.
Love
Thank you
y'all.
very much.
Thank y'all
Thank you,
for having me
Tasha.
here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Tasha.
Thank
All
you
right.
very
Bye.
much.
I would, I would, I would like to say for me, mine was abandonment. So
I was about to
my
ask that question. Go ahead, Drew. Go ahead, James.
my you know, meeting my dad like for the first time, I was like 13. Then he died, and then my mother left, and I was raised by my sister. So I never got that unconditional love from the people who brought me into this world. So I didn't know what that feeling felt like during the most crucial part of my adolescence time. So I seeked it from other areas. So when somebody said that they loved me, I thought that this is what the definition of what love is. And it was the very first time that anything has ever had happen is when it was my grandmother's funeral. And a day before my grandmother's funeral, my grandmother had passed. The next day, I was thrown into a coffee table, hit my temple, and then he jumped on me and just kept going, going, going. And then I was in a hospital, and I went to the funeral with a broken rib, and nobody knew. Nobody knew anything. And for me, when I got off the plane and I got the message that I'm sorry, I thought that's what love was. We make a mistake, you say sorry, and then you forgive. Because I actually went there planning on telling my family, being done with it, but it was that sorry that I had thought that was love. And the cycle just kept repeating. One time I was in the bathroom, he had a gun, put a gun to my head. I can't even count how many hospital bills is on my credit right now. And it wasn't until it was this nurse. It was actually a nurse who saved me. Anyway, and I used to go to the same hospital in Tampa. And she legit told me, sat me down, and she said, the next time you come back here, you're gonna be in a body bag. And she had to like just put it to me like that, because it literally got that bad. And that resonated like with me. And when I left that relationship, I was broken. Still to this day, I struggle with telling people that I love them, because trying to get something healthy after you experience something unhealthy, it's unfamiliar. It doesn't feel right. So I have to constantly tell myself that I am worthy and I deserve what I'm receiving, because otherwise it feels foreign. And if it feels foreign, it's not right. Because it was almost being in something that long, I became conditioned to, I need to see something unhealthy. And I have to take a lot of step backs. Like when I'm dating somebody, I slow down my words. I slow down the way that I talk because I don't want to be an abuser. I don't want to say certain words that I know will hurt somebody mentally because I've been there. So I am very careful with my word choice. And that's why words mean so much to me, because I've been in a situation where the words hurt along with the abuse.
Now, I mean, now this blows up in my face because I mean, I want to say recently, I had a relationship that kind of went south a couple of years ago, and listen to the stories that you gentlemen have said, and it's very physical but very surreal because I mean, I wouldn't say that person that I was dating was abusive, but would you agree that ignoring someone is the same thing? Can you get abused by just ignoring them altogether, like they don't exist?
What do you mean?
Almost like they're not a factor. They're just here as a person and not really getting the attention that a relationship should get. Would that be considered any type of abuse?
I mean, I guess if it's used to control, right? Because, like, let's just say somebody is not in that space, that mind space, and if somebody ignores them, they just walk away, right?
Right.
They know the person will just walk away because I mean, ignored, hey, sir, I just walk away because you're ignoring me. But if they understand that when they ignore you, it's a control factor, then yeah, that is abuse. You know, it is a form of abuse because it is a control factor, and I mean, I seen it early. Like control could be, by the fist, of course, but it also be by the words and the demeanors, right? So it comes to a point where my mom was abused by my brother's dad, and it was like after a while, it was just word. We knew what the looks were, right? It just was looks, especially on public. It was just like looks. We knew the looks. We knew the demeanor of the talking. So that was a condition that it wasn't the violent part, but it was the part that was the I don't know, the nonverbal part that was the abuse. You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, damn, we get home, it's about to be on and popping, and it's like, this. Just from something you've seen while y'all are out, and maybe no one else sees that, but you know it.
You know the trigger.
It's the trigger, so it's in you. You see it, and that's that's what, like I said, what's one of them things that it follows you. If you've been like that, I would think, because it follows me, and I'm a carefree person, but it's followed me through life. You know what I'm saying? Just shows. It helped me out when I was in the military to be able to read people so deeply, because I had to read that dude. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that the side note. He Christmas of '84, a drunk driver hit our family. We were delivering gifts, and we were all in the car, and the drunk driver smashed us. We were in like a Toyota Celica, and the drunk driver, he was in a pickup truck with a sled, snowplow in the front of it.
Oh wow!
And so so I mean, it's like it's seared in my mind that just bam, that impact. And I remember Philip Bailey and Phil Collins was playing on the radio, Easy Level, right? And we sat in that ditch because it was snowing outside. We sat in that ditch for about, it seemed like hours, but they said it was only like 40 minutes. We sat in that ditch that we had been thrown into, right? And so during that time, my mom screaming, crying, trying to get loose. He was the only one that died in that accident, right? And what I remember from that time sitting there is he just yelled for my mom. And that resonated through my life. Like, he could treat somebody so bad and yell for her help at the end. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I don't hold any anger for him, because that it ended like that, and like I said, it was hell, and it ended like that. But like I said, it's the nonverbal thing, and it can still be abuse. That was cruxes of my story, but
I agree. Manipulation is a form of abuse. Um, it's a way to say, at this moment, I'm not being receptive to what you're saying, so I need for us to stop this conversation. Like, if you are communicating, I am not being receptive, I cannot process this conversation, let's stop and let's revisit. That's a more of a healthy way, because when two people are on 10 trying to communicate, you're not communicating.
No.
You just want to be heard at that
Yeah.
moment. So it's just a moment of stepping back and giving each other that space to calm down, and then revisiting the conversation with level-minded. But yeah, ignoring a person who you know will move mountains for you is a form of control. There's a difference between being controlling and like to control. Like there's a big difference, and people don't understand it. It's a fine line between the two.
Right.
Don't
All right.
ignore nobody.
No, I hear you.
So,
Wow.
So my thing was when I want to say, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, I think I probably had 200 and something people comment, and it said, yes, me. And I'm sitting there like, how did I not know? And it was like a lot of close friends. I'm like, how did I not how do you hide something so huge?
That's the Black community, though. I mean, I'm just speaking in terms for me.
We talked about that. We did talk about that. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely correct.
What happens in the household stays
in the household.
You better not go to school talking about that. You better not talk to your aunties and uncles about that. What happens in your household stays in your household. And look, and when somebody come over, that house better be clean and everybody better be smiling. Like, it is what it is. We live in this. Oh no, you can go in, Vince.
Yeah, I mean, I used to kind of have that kind of feeling when I used to think to myself about it. But I met my wife 2005.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's when I met her. And at the time, she worked at a domestic violence shelter, right? And that was one of the intriguing things about it, right? To me, amongst other things, but that's where she worked. So she's seen a lot of stuff, right? And like I said, to me, I thought it was okay. It's the Black community. You know, we're not speaking out on it enough. But the clients she had there was not just Black. They were all classes, doctors, lawyers. You know what I'm saying? They run the gamut of it, and they had the same issue. You know, they couldn't talk about it. And I mean, I don't want to rate anybody's shame, but you know, they were like, hey, I'm a doctor. I shouldn't be going through this. So it was even more shameful and more of a reason to hide it. You know what I'm saying? Because they thought, well, you know, the community look at me a certain way. I shouldn't be going through this because of who I am. You know, that's one of them. And I'm not saying they thought like that, but, you know, that's one of them Black problems. What I'm going through, you know.
Can I add on to that and say, me personally, I thought like that. And so what I did is I stayed in school. I have 2 bachelors and 2 masters because I tried to overcompensate that shame. Like, I had thought that the more education I got, the more people would not look at what I've been through. Like, I want to put this in front of your face so you don't see what's really behind those degrees. I was literally getting those degrees, getting my ass beat. And that was my escape. That was literally my escape. And that was the way that made me cope with it. That sounds weird, but I was coping with it because I felt like I couldn't tell nobody because I was gay. I was the first one in my family gay. Although they accepted it, we didn't talk about it. So I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I used to stay the night in the library doing all of that because that was my way of hiding it. So I'm actually happy you said that.
Marcita, you've been there patiently, quiet. I mean, you came in late. I do apologize for me not getting you in on time, so that's my apologies. Chime in on all you've heard here. Tell us, you know, you definitely, when you told me what you do, I had to get you in here to speak on this. So please, grace us with some knowledge about
Well,
what's going
thank
on
you.
here.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to the platform. Um, I see the panel is all male, so I'm listening, and it's interesting to hear things from a male's perspective. My abuse started as a teenager out of high school, and being that young and not having any foundation about life and relationships, when you're with somebody, you think you're with them and you want to make it work. So it didn't start off abusive. My boyfriend went into the military, but his brothers were abusive, and he had 4 brothers. It was 5 brothers, no sisters. So he kind of did what he saw after I learned what was going on in the family. The family was dysfunctional. There was some issues in the family, but the abuse was really traumatic. Like it caught me off guard because nothing warranted it. I did nothing out of the ordinary for it to happen. And when people's state of mind, once I started understanding how and what, the state of mind of your abuser allows them to be abusive because they enact or reenact what they've seen, learned, or adapted to, and they project it on you. So this
So,
dude used to kidnap me. One time I remember going over to just visit, and I took a friend who wanted to meet one of his brothers. He ran out of the house, snatched me out of the car, and put a gun to my head. Caught off guard, blindsided. His brother ran out of the house, tackled him, and took the gun out of his hand and was asking me, was he crazy? Had he lost his mind? And this is the type of stuff that's traumatic and long lasting because I was still rather young and inexperienced, not having any knowledge about real world things. He was a worldly guy and I was not a worldly woman. And I'm still not a worldly woman, but I was in a worldly environment. So I learned a lot and I've grown a lot, but God had me covered even then. And then once the relationship ended, because he was really horrible, the Lord revealed to me everything he had done to me, every cheating, every incident. And when I told it back to him, he asked me, who have you been talking to? How could you know that? Who told you that? And I explained to him, the Lord showed me everything. But that guy eventually apologized. You know, he ripped my hair out by the roots because I had braids in. I had permanent hair damage, choked me out. And like I said, he would kidnap me. Just by driving by, I would be walking down the street. He would grab me, throw me in a car, and lock me in the house with him and his brother for days. And I would just be prayerful, and he would eventually let me go. But it was a lot of prayer and a lot of submitting unto what you don't know helps you even in your foolishness. So I understand the abuse, but the behavior needs to be justified too. When everything was done and said and we were ultimately finished, because I ended up having to press charges on him. He punched me in my eye and really messed my face up. And I was so ugly to where every time I looked in the mirror, I would cry because how could you make somebody you say you love look so bad? You don't do this to something you love. And it was just really, it was an experience. I grew from it, but like I said, when we broke up and everything was done and said, he looked me in my face, and these are the words that came out of his mouth that I grew from also. I didn't do any more to you than you allowed me to do. You allowed.
wait a minute.
Oh.
So part of the, well, it seems like the main part of the abuse is control.
It was.
So that's where he's still controlling you by telling you, I only did what you let me do.
But the growth in that for me was he was right. He did not do any more than I allowed him to do. even though it didn't get to the place where we didn't kill each other. And I promise you, I wanted to kill him. I mean, I literally cried one day in my car, prayerfully, and was like, I'm going to kill him. And the Lord spoke to me and said, don't do it. Because if you do it, you die too. You haven't done anything. You haven't seen anything. And these were the words. It was an angel, the Lord, I don't.
Muted there. Hold on. I get you back out here. There
And
you go.
I received every day that. I grew from that. And it helped me understand better to boundaries in relationships, especially with men. Because from that point on, and I was 23 when I was done with that relationship, not another man could ever put their hands on me again. And I'm a daughter of a grandmaster sensei. So I could have easily told my dad and got that handled. But because I loved him and I didn't want to see any harm come to him, I just kind of dealt with it. I walked away and I suffered silently until I had enough. And once I had enough, that was it. And once I had enough, he knew he was done because he saw the rage in the vengeance in me. And my thing with him was, I didn't want him dead. Once everything was done and said, my thing to him was, God damn his soul to hell. And that was my words to him. And after years went by, he came back and he told me he felt like he'd been in hell for 40 years, like Moses walking in the wilderness. And he also got his teeth punched out of his mouth, and he got in a real bad fight after he punched me in my eye. And I said, yeah, God don't like ugly. You reap what you sow. Because he was still young when that happened. But what goes around comes around, and think it not that people got away with what they've done to you. They may not never come back and say, you may not see what they go through, but trust and believe they get that back.
So one of my friends that commented that I had to have a conversation about, so I didn't know. So why did you not tell me? And she said, because I know how you would react. My question is, how do you help? Does the help have to start internal, or is it?
You talking about your female friend, the one who is a youth? She sounds like she's accustomed to the abuse.
Yeah, she was in the past. Correct.
So she, first and foremost, she needs help. She needs to seek professional help. Now, granted, I didn't have to because I sought the Lord, and I do have a praying family. They interceded. Because ultimately what had happened, and like my mom said to me, either you gonna have to leave or he gonna have to leave. Somebody gonna have to leave because the city I live in is small. This dude used to threaten to burn my mom's house down and kill us all. And when I told her, I said, you know, he's crazy and something's bad is really gonna happen. She said, either you gonna have to get out of town or he gonna have to go, because both of you guys can't stay here. With your friend, she needs to first address what it is that makes her feel loved to be abused in such a way. She needs to have professional help. You're not gonna be able to help her to that degree. She needs to get help.
Well, I've had me personally, after my experience, I have, and I've always been this way, not overly protective, but protective of my family that are females, because I seen what my mom went through and my uncles didn't help, right? So, and I know it's dangerous. So my thing was, I always talked to my sister and my cousin, who's just like a sister. And I could tell when my cousin was going through it, the one time she went through it, I could tell something was wrong. And my thing was always to talk to him, keep talking to him. And it don't have to be about that. Just tell them, show them that somebody loves you, right? Because you don't want to harp on that so much to scare them away, but just keep talking to her. Eventually she opened up, right? And I always told them, I mean, I'm, 5'10" and a half, 5'11", 350. And I always been a big guy. And I told my peoples. You know, you got one time. I played the sheriff one time, and I've done that. You know, and I've done it successfully both times. And you know, like I said, it can be dangerous, but when someone's scared to go to police because they job and things like that, and that's my family, and I know what my mom went through and what I went through, I was happy to do it, right? But it's like I said, it's a thing where you have to coax it out of them to be able to talk to you, and you know, that's another thing in the Black family, whatever. We don't talk to each other about the right kind of things in the family. We got abusers, we have child pedophiles in the family, and we don't want to talk about it or discuss it. You know, it has to be discussed at some point with somebody.
Those are generational curses that need to be broken. And when
But it
you
needs
do
to be taught. It needs to open. You need to open it up. Talk,
you have to talk about it. You have to address them. You have to face them head on, because nothing can be dismantled until you actually identify it. So
in my family, I chose, just after my grandmother passed, I said, I'm gonna be the one to bring this to light. If I see it happening, I'm gonna bring it to light. If I know one of my cousins or something, you know, been popped and mess with little kids, I'm gonna let everybody know. And I'm gonna let that person know. You my cousin, I love you, but I kill you. You mess with the kids, I'm a family.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah. Jay, I was gonna ask you because you looked like you was about to say something.
Yeah. Okay. So Jules, when you had said that your friend said that she didn't tell you because she know what you would do, I just want to hit you from this standpoint. If somebody is staying in a situation where they're being like domestically abused, and if they're staying, they feel like they love that person. And so if they feel like they love that person, I'm not going to tell somebody who's going to hurt that person. You know what I mean? Like, because then it creates a bigger situation that if I can just keep this to myself, then nobody has to know. I think in those situations, you don't fight violence with violence. You do not fight violence with violence, because then the person who you're quote unquote trying to help is seeing violence in like just all around their lives. What you need to do is in that situation, in those type of situations, give that person the resources. Whatever, there are so many domestic violent resources. I used to do a podcast called Bring a Bottle, and we talked, and I had like about 3 people who opened up to me after I talked about it, and I sent them resources. I asked them probing questions, because that's really what they need. They don't need somebody to fight the violence with the violence.
Well, I misconstrued. It wasn't violent. I said sheriff. I meant sheriff in a assertive way. I didn't mean I was going dropping elbow. I meant sheriff in a assertive way, like, you know, like my cousin. I'm coming over there and I'm moving you out. You know what I'm saying? You sit right in the back room. You're not going to do anything. That's what I meant. I didn't mean I'm coming over there.
No.
Yeah. I didn't mean it like that.
But that asks a good question. So, do the when you talk about being a sheriff, like I've seen so many people talk about that the police knew and they did nothing about it. So
that part.
So it's like, who do you reach out to if the people that you reach out to no longer want to help you? Because the first thing I believe me, I know a ton of police officers. The first they're gonna say is, "Why do you stay?" Or they immediately flip it back onto the victim and start blaming the victim.
Dude, so, when I can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we're good. We can hear you.
Okay. So when I was gonna bring that up, that was gonna be my next topic, right? So when it happened to me the last time, she basically disconnected my my nose from my face with a ketchup bottle. And can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh yeah,
wow.
I heard that one.
I must.
So, you know, I panicked. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm a big guy. You know, she knew what she did. She like ran into the room or whatever. I chased her until I felt like blood was gushing everywhere. I actually grabbed a hold of her until I was starting to taste the blood. And so I let her go. You know, I went in the mirror. What in the world? My nose is hanging off. I'm like, what in the world? My sister is gonna freak when she see this, right? So I called. That's the first person I called, my sister. And my sister's like, I'm coming over there. And I said, no, don't come over. Don't worry about it. I'm about to come over to your house. And I called her. I called the police on the way out. The police officer got there. That apartment was in both of our names. That policeman got there. I was outside, still bleeding. And I told him exactly what happened, what caused it, what led up to it. And the first thing he asked me was, "What did you do?" That's what he asked. Now I don't know if he meant it in like, "What did you do to cause it?" or whatever, but it just felt weird, right? So then he went up and talked to her, right? I don't know what story she gave him, but my story was evident. Her story was whatever. He come back down. He said, "Well, are you gonna go to your sister's house?" I said, "Yeah, I'm pressing charges." He said, "Well, you can go to the magistrate on Monday and press charges." I was like, "Okay, so you're not gonna take her?"
Yeah.
He said, "No, we're not gonna take her tonight." And he told her to change the locks. He told her to change the locks on an apartment that were both of ours. And like I said, it was so nonchalant how he treated the situation. With obviously, like I said, I guess he could have in his mind, okay, maybe she fought him off or whatever. But he's hearing my story. I'm standing outside. I'll let him. I walk back in the house with him to get the rest of my stuff, and he's still like, I think it's like a Friday, right? So I'm like, so that's it. He's like, yeah, if you want to file charges, you can go down to the magistrate on Monday and file the charges. I said, oh, well, thanks. Really, thanks for nothing. And I went to my sister's, and a couple of people told me later on that wasn't the way it was supposed to be handled from a police perspective, right? And I mean, I'm not a police officer. I don't know, but it just didn't feel right. And it felt to me like had the roles been reversed, right? And he got there, and I was in the house, and she was outside with a bloody nose, with the meat hanging off, that I would have probably went to jail. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I thought. That's what I still think to this day. And I think that right there may deter men in general, or black men, but men in general, from seeking help, because no one's gonna believe them. I mean,
that was my first thought. So when me and you were going back and forth, and you're like, I don't know whether I need to speak to my wife, and, all that, and that's the first thing I think of is like, first, who are they going to believe? And even in our own community, no one's going to believe you.
Yeah. But I mean, that's is dangerous, because she could have killed me. To be honest, I mean, if somebody's not watching that, I mean, that could have been a knife that she slung instead of a big ketchup bottle, right? And then what would the story have been? Oh, he should have he should have said something earlier. He should have called the cops. He should have done this. And like I said, vice versa. I know you don't, it's no violence for violence, but if I hadn't let her go because I was feeling that blood in my mouth or whatever, and I had, maybe put my hands on her, who would the police would have believed once they got there for that?
You would have been gone in a heartbeat. Yeah, you would have been gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I struggle with it because I'm like, that's not right. I know it's not right. But it's kind of mute to complain at times, right? You don't want to be that complaining. Oh, he's just a whining black dude all the time. So we keep it to ourselves, right? I told the story to a few. I mean, my friends know. But outside of that, not a lot of people know, because it's like they look at me like, "Come on, bro."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? That right there, like, it kind of invalidates the whole conversation for me. Like, okay, I probably don't need to tell you about it then, man. I mean, Superman has his kryptonite or whatever, but like I said, that's from my perspective.
of how I experienced it. Like I said, and that was the crescendo, I guess, when that happened. Right. But it was things that led up to that I should have known. It was red flags and things she did and how she did it. That I should have said, nah, you know what? I probably need to leave this family alone. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? For those 3 or 4 reasons, I didn't, and I gained a lesson from it. And that's what I look at it as. As you're a survivor, you have a lesson, right? I'm a survivor from cancer. I went through cancer. It's a lesson in that. Go get checked. Go get your body checked. Go to the doctors. I used to jump out of planes. It's a lesson of that. Don't be scared of nothing. Overcome your fears. And going through that, it's a lesson. The questions to ask. What are you actually looking for when you find it, when you meet someone? Like I said, meeting my wife, it was a situation where she had already worked around people like that, and we could talk and understand and kind of vibe on that aspect of it.
Jay, I know you got to go. I just want to thank you from our podcast, Tunde and our podcast. Where is your if you want to plug your next show, or when's your next reading?
Oh, my next poetry show. I don't know when I'm going to do another one. It's just a random pop-up. That one was very successful. So we'll see. People are asking me, oh, you wanted me to read the poem?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Please. You have it? Are you ready?
Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Come on now. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. Come on. Give us this good stuff, bro. Give us the good stuff.
Okay. I can read it. I may look paused because I had to pull it up on my phone. But can you guys still hear me?
Yes. While he's doing that, I wanted to ask our panel here questions here. Do you think, based on what Vince said, do you think when we see drama or even trauma like that happen to us, and we as people hold it in and don't do anything, do you think it will? Do you think? Because I mean, do you think it affects us long term to hold things in, not be open, not be our true selves? Because I've been told for many years that I have to release what has been going on in my life because of past situations, be it relationships or whatnot. I keep that stuff in. And what Vince said kind of affected me, well, kind of resonated with me, because I mean, if you don't let that stuff out, your body knows this and it'll attack you, right? If you don't get that pain out, your pain you'll hurt, right? So there was years where I was in hospitals day in and day out, and the doctors would never know what's going on, realizing that it was all just me holding everything in. Everybody, my parents would say, you hold everything in. The women I've dated would say, hey, you hold everything, and why don't you communicate? And it was the trauma that I've dealt with in the past that kept me just quiet, because I'm like, you know what? If I don't say anything, maybe it will just go away. Maybe it will just pass. Maybe it'll fix. So I sat there for years. Okay, I'm not a young man anymore, but for years I've been sitting here taking it in, taking the bumps, the lumps, and everything on the chin, and I'm like, this ain't working. This ain't right. My body's not supposed to feel this way. My mind is not supposed to feel that way, until I went and found somebody to, not even dating wise, just started telling people, and the release just I mean, as God's my witness, I tell you, the minute I started letting everything go, things changed. Well, life changed.
Everybody has their own coping mechanism, right?
Yeah, and that was mine. Mine was to hold it in. But the thing is,
I hold things in too, but my coping mechanism to release that is the gym, right? And then before that, it was Spartan races. And before that, it was the cage fights, right? So that gave me an outlet to kind of release that tension I have. And I'm not going to bear, I wouldn't dare bear it on anybody else in my family, right? This is about me and how I react to it. And that's what released it for me. That still releases it for me. I dance almost every day because for one thing, I'm still alive, I'm good, I'm healthy, but it's just a release for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, everybody reacts and copes with it in different ways. But that's just my way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
And
Jay, you ready?
yeah, and to answer that, everybody, in my personal opinion, everybody should have a therapist. It's the reason why I got my psychology degree, because I wanted to understand how the brain works. And I wanted to make sure that after the things that I did and been through, that I knew that I was supporting myself mentally. I think that everybody deserves a therapist. I know we pray. If you believe in God, I know you have your prayer group and you have your church family. But there's something about somebody who professionally knows and understands the brain that can help you process the emotions that you need to process. Because what people need to realize is that your feelings are valid and that they need to live. And the moment that you suppress your feelings, you are not letting them live, which means you are invalidating yourself. Stop invalidating yourself. You are valid. So there we go. That's that part.
Jay, it's not about a church family. It's about a straight relationship with God. Because I tell
Yes,
you
yes,
what,
yes.
when I needed a church family the most, nobody was there.
Yeah.
Nobody was there. So it's a straight line to the
misconstrued
ground.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Oh yeah. No, we got you. We
I
got you.
just wanted to get that in there because people
I'm
look
sorry.
at people too much. When
Yep.
people need to seek for themselves, you can't go to people to fix some things that has happened and that will happen for yourself.
But there's something about somebody who can help you get there. A lot of times we don't know how to get there.
Oh no, the therapist is very necessary. I'm glad you put that in there because that is the thing that people won't get, especially Black people. They think if you go get that type of help, you're not strong or you're weak or something wrong with you. No, you're smart because you know there's some things going on that's beyond your control. You need some help. And about that health issue, I ended up with endometriosis after my relationship. And I had so many GYNs tell me I was crazy and that it was all in my head. It took me over 2 years to get the help, and I had to have emergency surgery to fix everything. And I had to have surgeries going back to back to back because of all that trauma. So yeah, it all ties in together. And thank you for having me on the panel. This has been really good experience. I'm ready for your poem, Jack.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here we go. This